could God make a so empty that even he could not yeet it?
Oh gosh.
We'll edit that out.
We have to.
We can't keep
We
that.
have to read the actions now. Hey everyone, welcome to the Copperfoxinn. I'm your host today, Mercy the Tiefling Wizard, and with me as always,
Thomas the Human Bard.
Onog, the half-orc barbarian.
And Bean, the rock gnome rogue.
yes.
Oh.
I see you all didn't get the black tie memo.
I see that you've learned
embarrassing.
how to speak Elvish.
Yes.
Oh gosh.
My real name is Bean now. It's
With like
B
8 apostrophes.
apostrophe semicolon N.
Semicolons are vowels in Elvish.
Although if you
so
look
good.
at like the Sindarin script, it does
Yeah.
look like it's
It
full
kinda
of
does.
semicolons.
That's very funny.
Lots of
I
squiggles.
Yeah.
wish I could say I had thought of that beforehand, but I'm only just realizing it now.
Oh, well, it's great to have you here, Bayon.
Thanks.
We're gonna do something special today. So as always, we want to thank all of the contributors to the D&D Homebrew community, and especially all of the contributors to the stuff that we review here on this channel. We love everything we review. Keep it coming. And as a special thank you today, Thomas, I believe you have a haiku for us.
Yes, I cannot take credit for this, but as a bard, it is my duty to share it with the world.
How did we get this haiku?
We had a listener send this haiku in to us to our email, thecopperfoxinn@gmail.com. And this is the haiku that they sent. They said, "A haiku in thy name. The Copper Fox Inn, brews to be tasted by all. Here come penguin race." Thank you. That was sent in by TrashMantine. Sent it in along with a homebrew, which we will be reviewing today.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, guys. We're legit
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, that's our first listener contribution.
Thank you. We hope that you enjoyed hearing that read across the airwaves. Are these airwaves?
No, I think it's
These are
fiber optics.
microwaves.
I think it's an arcane. It's a magic mouth. You're listening to this on either a sending stone or a magic mouth. One of the two.
Although, of course, if you have been receiving
Oh no,
my
it's
special...
a scrying eye.
Oh,
That's
yes,
what it
there
is.
If you have been receiving my special newsletter, then you, of course, are listening to this on 8-track.
Yep.
Well, yeah, thank you. And as always, we'd love to receive any homebrews that you guys have that you want us to review. And if you like what we're putting down, go ahead and like and subscribe. All right, so we're gonna...
If you like what we're putting down, why don't you pick up that keyboard and then set it carefully back on the desk so that you can type.
Pick up your keyboard, give it a good look over, put it back down,
And then send us an email!
and then
Shake some of the popcorn kernels loose.
And then don't touch that keyboard because you're going to need to move your mouse first to click all the buttons that are important. Yeah.
Thank you, Thomas. That was very helpful.
Yes, you're welcome.
All right, so we're gonna start today with our item. Onog, I believe you have an item for
Wait,
us.
what is it? The magic item of the week?
Yes, it is.
That's it.
That's how the
for
jingle
this
has
week.
always been and always will be.
Well, so have I got the magic item for you? This is only the most advanced wizards have made these magical items. And what is this magical item is called, you might ask? It is gun. I have brought you Arcane Artillery, basic expansion for D&D 5th edition. This was submitted to Reddit.
Onog, they already have guns.
No, but this is more gun.
Oh, it's not just a stick that goes...
Oh no, there are sticks that go. We got your boomsticks, we got your sidearms, we got your long
I was
arms,
just-
we got your ancient, out-of-date flintlock pistols, we got your futuristic, high-powered sniper rifles.
Just
We got it
making-
all, kids.
Comment about how underpowered the, like, guns in the... What is it? The...
DMG.
It's in the
DMG?
Dungeon Master's Guide, yeah.
Yeah.
But this was submitted. This is basically what's called the Arcane Artillery, the Gun Nuts Guide for 5th edition. And it was posted to the subreddit Unearthed Arcana.
Gun nuts.
Yeah, the Gun Nuts Guide.
That's my favorite cereal.
No, gun nuts. Isn't that... Can't you order those to put on your gun? Like a truck? We can move on.
Just got that sawed-off
Dude, just
shotgun
put
with
gun
those
nuts.
dangly blue balls.
Those gun nuts.
No, this was
You shoot and they just swing and hit you in the face.
Oh,
No.
just leave a big old
Welt.
nut welt. All right.
We
So
have to change the rating of
Please
this
don't
podcast.
invent those.
Guys, we're gonna get those sent when we get a P.O. box. That's the first thing we're gonna get.
I'm trying to be good
No,
and
it's-
give credit.
We
to
don't
Yes,
want
okay,
that.
give
I
credit.
never
Okay,
give credit,
okay,
so
okay.
I'm doing that first thing.
Oh, no, cool.
This was produced by Zhao Jr. to the Reddit Reddit user Zhao Jr. to the Unearthed Arcana Reddit.
Zhao Senior is very proud.
Yes, he should be. This is just one section of many PDFs tied to that, and I'll give you the link to that later. But and so this is just kind of the base introductory level of here there begun. Mm-hmm. So we've got a bunch of different. So it's kind of like the equipment page, the weapons page in the player's handbook, where it just kind of goes through all the different kinds of guns. There's flintlock pistols, dragoons, pepper boxes, muskets, blunderbuss, wheel-lock guns. I don't even know what that one means.
Wheellock?
Yeah.
It's a kind of gun. Don't worry.
I imagine it's a kind of gun, but I don't know.
They shoot wheels and padlocks.
It just shoots those wheel skeleton boys from Dark Souls.
It's okay. We don't get into it. It's fine.
anyways.
It's like instead of flint, it's like a rotating wheel that
Oh
like
yeah.
sparks.
Oh yeah, I know that. I see
Yeah,
that.
It's like the little 4th of July.
Not really, but
things,
kind of.
but it's a gun.
And apparently,
That's
as
exactly what it
as
is.
some kind of consolation to their users, they have also added a section of, for you technophobic plebs, here's some crossbow variants, or whatever. So there are repeating crossbows, automatic crossbows, reloading hand crossbows, and Spitfire crossbows.
Automatic crossbows. Like you can go full Van Helsing
go-
from
just
the
go
movie Van Helsing.
Right Van Helsing on them.
Oh, that's such a good move.
Do they
Good old Hugh Jackman.
do they have rubber band gun?
Oh.
I would imagine that's just a flintlock pistol,
Do
but
they
without
have-
any of the
Do
mechanisms.
they have a PVC marshmallow gun?
A potato gun.
Potato gun.
That's probably what the wheel-lock gun is.
Water gun.
But yeah, so instead of going over
like
a
a-
specific
and then-
magical item, I'll be going over just kind of the rules of firearms in general that have specific wording around them. And a lot of this is clearly, as we've kind of discussed, when you do a homebrew, you want to base it off of the terminology and language that already exists. Like we said, there are firearms in the Dungeon Master's Guide, and a lot of this is taken from there. And a lot of this is also heavily inspired. He gives a thank you in the beginning credit to Matt Mercer for his gunslinger that he created for the show Critical Role.
Yeah.
And so
I heard that part of the reason of not wanting to do too much firearm stuff in 5th edition from the designers was because they felt that gun was the loneliest number.
Even
Dang, that was harsh. That was the coldest.
I watched you hurting yourself while saying that.
I just took psychic damage.
Well,
from that.
Thomas, I'm glad that you took a shot at making a pun.
Wow. There it is. You're backing me up.
I think let's reload.
Let's not blow this out of proportion.
Hey. I think we really need to aim, for staying on track.
Well, as long as nobody's jokes. Misfire. Perfect segue into the first optional
First
rule.
ability. Okay.
All right, first ability is, misfire, optional rule. This rule is made for only games where firearms are prominent and you wish to emphasize the inferiority of primitive firearms. Let's see here.
So basically, because guns are just like the ultimate weapon, if they are so much, you don't want anyone that has a gun. Man, I made so much sense as I was talking.
That wasn't a sentence.
Almost was a sentence. I think what Bean was trying to say.
So what you're
Beyond.
saying is because guns are
sorry.
so much,
What Bean
Guns are so much. That's why we need to regulate them. They're just so much.
because okay, wait. I think what Bean was trying to say was that if you have everybody has a pretty normal level of like guns where everyone has reliable guns, you can emphasize that some older or like ancient guns could have downsides to them.
Mm-hmm.
Not upkeeping your gun or not having a more modern gun would have some problems.
Yes and no. What I was trying to say is that, like, in a world of fantasy where, I mean, there is magic and there's all this stuff, but guns, by comparison, are such a just powerful weapon for their accuracy and their deadliness and all of that. If guns do exist a little bit more prevalently, you wouldn't want it to be that the players that have guns are just
Better.
automatically better
Yeah.
than, I mean, they might semi-automatically be better
Sure.
than
Sure.
Some
keep
of the
going.
other-
Semi-automatic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bayon.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the last episode of The Copper Fox, as all but one of the members of the inn mysteriously disappeared.
They're members of this inn? Have I been missing out on benefits?
Yeah, dude.
Is there a VIP room?
You gotta pay a monthly fee,
Oh,
but
well,
all right,
I
guys.
can't
I'm
afford that.
sorry. I have comedy too much in my sights, so keep going.
Okay.
I'm just gonna start throwing things. All right, so Mistfire. This rule is made for inferiority guns, yada yada yada. If you make an attack roll and the roll matches or is lower than a firearm's misfire number, such as 2, for example, your gun jams. You cannot make an attack with it again until you spend an action to clear the chamber. Your firearm's misfire number goes up by 1 to a maximum of 5. You can spend 1 minute to make a DC 10 plus your firearm's misfire umber, dexterity tinker's tool, or intelligence tinker tools check to reduce your gun's misfire number by 1 to a minimum of its original misfire number.
So it's a little bit like wild magic.
It's kind of like wild magic, but the magic is
Sucks.
the wand in your hand, and the only spell it knows is bullet. And explode in your hand.
Boy, that's all I need.
Is bullet a spell?
Bullet is spell.
I can only picture that clip from what is it? Is it a Dragon Ball Z episode? I'm not sure.
no.
Where the guy has dynamite. Oh no, is it Fist of the North Star? And the guy has
don't know.
dynamite,
I
and they're
stopped
like,
understanding what you were saying
they
a while
say,
ago.
well, the anime protagonists are all kung fu boys, and they're all like fighting kung fu masters. And this one guy just throws dynamite, and somebody goes, "Throwing dynamite isn't a kung fu style." And he goes, "Hey, if it works, it works." And that's like all I can picture here, where they're like, "Wait a minute, guns aren't a spell," and your wizard like loading his AK is just like, "Well, if it works, it works."
I mean, it's really your sorcerer finally going like, I know, but I have realized I need to find a solution.
Oof.
Yeah. So yeah, but
your
yeah, that
Beastmaster
seems
going like-
very similar to the Matthew Mercer gunslinger rules that we've seen in Critical Role.
Yeah, a little bit based off of something like Wild Magic, a little bit based off of like an exhaustion level of like
Yeah.
you need to spend consistent time to bring it back down.
You gotta
the further
fix
you
it.
let it go. Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, and so here's another one, primitive guns, if you want to add even more layers of difficulty on them. In games where the firearms are prominent, use this optional rule. Primitive firearms are not properly built for combat. If you make more than 2 attacks with these weapons on your turn, the firearm's misfire number just goes up by 1 to a maximum of 10.
So this is like you got a tour of the museum and you took one of the guns off of the wall on display from the just fancy armory section.
And it was just like, yes, this was a gun, but it is not ready. It is not combat rated.
Someone's like little display over their fireplace of crossed flintlocks. You take one and shoot it, and it explodes, killing everyone, but
Yeah.
it's gone. Oh my gosh, that's literally a scene in Date Night. You guys remember that?
Nope,
No,
never
we never
seen
saw
it.
a movie.
Oh, it's
we can
so
move
good.
on. We don't need to follow the whole movie plot.
He steals a decorative gun and is like threatening people with it, and it's like a gold revolutionary like revolver, and everyone's like, but he's threatening gangsters, and they're all like, what are you doing?
I don't think that works.
My favorite gag along those lines ever is in Pirates of the Caribbean, where Elizabeth goes to pull the sword off the wall.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's on a cross sword and shield thing,
And it's just
all
together.
glued together. And she's oh well, that's
Like,
not
it's not
helpful.
actually a sword.
This wouldn't work. Why is this sword on your wall like sharpened and full tang? Like why? Those are decorative. Those are not meant to be used.
It's just one piece with the shield. It's all welded together.
How antique, or how, I guess, was antique the word he used, or was
Primitive.
it
Primitive.
How primitive does a gun have to be before it stops becoming a gun?
How primitive is it just
Captain
a
Kirk?
very dirty straw?
Is it Captain Kirk with a bamboo shoot and some black powder and a couple of rocks jammed into it?
I would consider that to be a one-shot, long-range
More
rifle.
of a cannon.
I think if your
Short-range
gun
cannon.
eventually gets so primitive that it's just sort of a stick in a Y shape with some rubber bands, then we're out of gun territory.
What if it was one long
Yeah.
stick with like a tension string on it, and the bullets are like long wooden bullets with like metal tips?
Yeah. Oh, and what if we put some like fancy, like, I don't know, some like little tassels or like feathers?
That sounds ridiculous.
Oh,
I'd never
okay.
do
I
that.
thought it was a good idea.
I shoot all my arrows naked.
They just don't
What?
go very far.
Let's move move on. Oh no.
All right. So next ability
You
is
can buy I shoot all my arrows naked t-shirts.
I was trying to move on.
I'm sorry. I'm really rude this episode.
this episode. Okay.
Oh! Shots fired.
Whoa! Oh, Mercy's getting in on it.
All right. I hate all of it.
Sorry.
No,
You should have
No,
brought better jokes
no,
to
no,
this gunfight.
No, you're not. I'm not letting you finish it.
We're moving on.
All right.
We're
All
done.
right. Clear the space for Ona.
Next ability that a lot of guns have is the reload ability. Not to be confused with the loading ability. That is something that a lot of crossbows have.
I'm surprised they didn't just port that over directly.
Well, because there is a difference. You'll
Okay,
see here.
interesting.
Reload. Some ranged weapons can be fired a number of times before they must be reloaded.
Okay.
Ranged weapons with the reload property take an action to reload its ammunition. If you wield two I don't know why that's related. Oh, if you wield two light ranged weapons with the reload property, you can reload them both at once as an action during your turn.
How?
So you can just
two pistols, you drop the clips, and you load
can
them one
just
after another on your
Laura
turn.
Croft, Agent 47. This
Yeah.
just click, click, click. It's like you don't know how those fingers were holding a clip,
Don't worry about
but
it.
it's fine. But I assume because it takes an action, you just put one down, click, put one down, click. You know.
Very importantly, I learned this distinction a while ago. A magazine is different from a clip. A magazine is a box. A clip is literally just like bullets that are all clipped together. When you see the naked bullets,
Oh,
and you
that's
put
a clip.
those into
That's
like
a
an
clip.
old like Leeing field or something
Like a
like that, like a
Gatling
World War
gun.
II gun.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's
No,
a different
that-
gun.
yeah.
But it's like it's just bullets like up in a line, and you can see the entirety of the bullets, and they all stick together, and they go up into a gun. That's a clip. Whereas a box that bullets are loaded into,
Like in a pistol.
is a magazine. Yeah, it's
it.
interesting.
It's just that clip
Small
is
distinction.
easier to say.
Yeah, but gun people will be very mad.
You say that, all the gun people I know will say clip and magazine.
How do you know gun people? We're just now learning about the new item guns
Oh,
that have
I'm
just
sorry.
been invented
No,
right now.
gun.
Oh,
That's
gun.
because
It's the
I'm a
magic
time travel.
item.
I'm a time travel sorcerer.
Oh, from earlier, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, but gun wasn't invented 5 turns ago.
Ah.
All right, let's see here.
Okay.
So for instance, if a weapon has reload 4 or something, it can fire 4 shots in a row without having to be reloaded. But once you fire that 4th shot, it'll take a whole action to reload.
Interesting. Does that? I'm sure there will be rules addressing this. I was wondering though about how that works with like, is the attack action you fire X number of shots, or is it just one shot equals one attack action?
Based on what this is, I think it's just 1 shot equals an attack action.
So
but
that
we
would-
are getting into things where that can get altered.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Because I was gonna say that would then mean that it's like it really only comes up often for like fighters with a bunch of extra attacks where they can attack 4 times on a turn.
And then
But that
they
will
have to
matter,
spend their
yeah.
next turn reloading.
But somebody
or
can
get a
only-
new gun.
Yeah, someone who can only attack once on the turn just won't come up really.
Yeah, it'll maybe come up if the combat goes long and they
yeah.
have to spend the turn reloading,
Sure.
or just John Wick the gun right in somebody's face
Well, pow!
and then run away.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of ways to alternate how to use your action on the turn, firearms can have certain properties. One of them being automatic. Automatic firearms can make a separate attack that releases a salvo of bullets per pull of the trigger.
Yep.
Is that the right
Yep,
word?
that's correct.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah,
Okay.
salvo meaning like a bunch at a time, like
A
a
bunch
bunch in a row.
okay.
Interesting.
Salvo of missiles is just like shooting a bunch of missiles in a row.
Just going crazy with it.
If
Okay.
you ever want someone who just knows lots of facts about random stuff, Thomas is your guy.
I'm a bard, guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's the gig.
I'm,
All right.
I'm a lore bard. That's my whole shtick.
As an action, you can force any creatures of your choice in a 25-foot square centered on a point within your firearm's maximum range to make a dexterity saving throw, taking the gun's automatic damage, listed in parentheses, on the
chart.
equipment chart, on a failed save, and half the damage on a success. This action subtracts 10 rounds from your gun. You can use this action only if you have the ammunition available to do so.
Okay.
Firearms with the automatic properly always expend 6 ammunition per attack. And I think that's just
gets a little
just
complicated.
that's a little complicated, but I think what that's saying is if you're just making normal attacks with your automatic gun, you're firing 6 times.
Well, that is pretty true to life. I got to go to a cool exposition and I got to fire an automatic weapon one time, and you cannot like
Only fire
just
one,
shoot
yeah.
one.
By the time it takes for your finger to get back
Yeah,
off the trigger,
it's-
it's already gone. Like,
I
yeah.
think it's really cool that they have like automatic guns.
Mm-hmm.
Like I love bringing that in. Do they have supersonic guns? Do they have hypnotic guns?
Are any of their guns funky fresh?
Oh yeah.
What are you referencing?
Don't worry about it.
Be-
If you get the reference, you'll get it.
Okay, another property a firearm could have is burst fire.
I did want to say real quick before we move on.
Yeah.
And legitimately, I appreciate that it's almost the options for fire here remind me of like having the versatile quality on a weapon where like you can wield it with one hand to do this damage or two hands to do this, where you have the option to say, I want to make a regular shot, or for this turn I'm going to do
just
more
gonna go
damage
fully
at a cost.
automatic.
Yeah, yeah. And I like that.
I mean, I think I would imagine, I don't know if it says this specifically, but like you can pay extra to get fancy weapons, I'm imagining that if you were in a campaign where guns were really prolific, you could probably pay a gunsmith to make you a weapon that can be semi-automatic or automatic at like the flip of a switch.
Yeah.
Like I don't see
I don't
why
see
you
why not,
couldn't
yeah.
do that. It
Maybe
would
that's a
probably
magic item.
or it
It
would
can change magic.
cost a lot of money.
You
but
whisper the elvish oath word into it,
And it
changes.
just goes and it's just kind of
Transformers.
a single switch just flicks automatically.
Yeah.
All right, so here's and then here we go down to burst fire. Burst fire firearms are able to make a special attack that releases a stream of multiple bullets. As an action, you can force up to 6 creatures of your choice in a 15-foot square, so it's a little bit smaller.
so this is shotgun, basically.
No, shotgun is later.
That's
This is I think
Semi-automatic.
semi-automatic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or I think it's specifically a burst fire thing. I know a lot about
Oh,
guns.
burst fire. Sorry. Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought we were
this
talking
is
about
just-
semi-automatic.
this
Just
is just burst fire.
So this just means that it will do
It's ba, ba, ba,
a
ba, ba, ba.
specific number with every pull of the
Okay,
trigger.
automatic,
so
but
you pull once and it will shoot 3 bullets every time you pull.
so
no matter
automatic
what.
that has like a cap on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's how burst fires work.
Okay.
Yeah, where it's like this will shoot 5 times and then stop until you pull the trigger again.
Yeah. And very much like the automatic area effect attack, this forces the targets to make a dexterity saving throw, taking the gun's burst fire damage on a failed save and half that much on a success. This action subtracts 6 rounds from your gun. You can use this action only if you have the ammunition to do so. Additionally, the gun with the burst fire property always expends 3 rounds per attack.
I gotta say, I am a little ambivalent towards everything requiring dex saves. That seems like a lot. Like,
Well, this-
constantly being like, every attack I ever make requires a dex saving throw. I don't
Well,
know.
that's just the burst fire action.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah.
still take the regular attacks that
No.
just make 3 bullets.
I get that. And I'm just
You're
saying,
just, like,
both
firing it
that
into a
and
group of
the
people.
fully automatic one required dexterity saving throws.
Well,
and it's just like
It makes sense because you're not going to punch the bullets out of the way. You
no,
know?
it's true. I just wish it was just an attack roll.
Just because in general dex saving throws come up so much?
Yeah, they
Or-
just come
yeah.
Yeah, I
up a
suppose.
lot, and they are. It's a little weird to me. I don't know. I just
So
sometimes
you
think
could
it's like
you could rephrase it that just you make an attack roll against all these characters.
it would be
in the
interesting if it
space.
was like you can use your automatic fire, but you make an attack roll with disadvantage because it's harder to control the recoil or something like that, as opposed to requiring a saving throw. It's just
That
a
is
little
true.
bit of a difference, but that's just about personal like preference.
I mean, some
Or
people
like
probably
you have to make a strength saving throw to
Oh,
control the
interesting.
recoil.
Something like that would be
And then
interesting.
if you fail, then all the attacks are.
That
but then,
actually makes
but then
more
we're
sense.
compounding more things
yeah,
on top
it's
of each
true.
other.
It's true.
But okay, so then finally we have scatter.
Oh, okay.
Firearms with the scatter property have 2 types of damage: a regular damage roll and a scatter damage roll. When you hit a creature with a firearm that has the scatter property, creatures within 5 feet of the target take scatter damage if the attack would hit them. So if the original attack would have hit the people standing next to them, they also take damage. If the attack would hit them, the original target does not take this damage. You gain resistance to the scatter damage dealt from your firearms attacks.
You do?
I don't know why that's there.
Could you be hit by
Are you
Wait,
next to them?
Oh.
How is that possible?
Does it count?
If you try to
as
like
next to
point
them?
blank
If it's,
scatter
like,
shot someone,
close
it could
range?
explode back on you.
Yeah.
I guess.
Weird. Interesting.
But yeah, so for instance, let's look at a couple of weapons.
Yeah.
That needs more explanation though, because firearms always shoot away from you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possible that you said there's quite a few PDFs involved in this.
Yeah, oh yeah, this
So
is
there
just
might be
like
some
the
addressing
first
it
base
later.
one.
Yeah, there might be some.
There's other
edits
ones that
made.
are just like, here's just a list of guns.
Well,
you
and
know?
I do have
Over
like
a
an
billion
uncle that
guns.
shot something too close and pieces of the bullet flew back and hit him in the leg.
What are some of the guns involved in Hero Note?
So I'm trying to find one that has burst damage, but I don't see any listed here. Maybe those are listed on the longer list.
I mean,
I feel
the
like-
burst rifle.
Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. It's on this. This is no, sorry. I was looking at the normal firearms, and there's
Special.
this whole section of special firearms with burst rifles, burst pistols, revolvers. So yeah, so for instance, we've got. So let's go back up to the primitive ones. We've got the pepper box, which is special because it is a primitive weapon with a reload instead of the loading property. So it can fire as many times as it's got bullets, which in this case, it has a reload of 4. So it can fire 4 times before they have to spend an action to reload. A flintlock pistol, on the other hand, has the loading property, which, as we know from crossbows, means it can only fire once per turn unless something circumvents the loading property of this weapon. So no matter how many times you want to,
It's all you
you can
Yeah.
only fire once per turn.
Yeah.
And then we've got here.
It also has a higher misfire rate than the pepper box. The pepper box has a misfire of 1, whereas the flintlock pistol has a misfire of 3.
I
So if
almost
you
feel
roll
like-
a 3 or lower, it'll jam up.
Yeah.
I almost feel like with these primitive ones, there should be like a potential risk of them like
Just
exploding
exploding.
and doing area damage, like to you and everyone in like a 5-foot radius or something, like, or 10-foot radius.
I mean, if that was a thing that had just like a normal chance of happening, I feel like that wouldn't be like fun gameplay.
Well, I feel like it would be maybe like a a D100.
well,
like,
I think technically in
Maybe if you try to fire a jammed one.
in Critical Role, there was always a chance that if you didn't clean it or if you continued to try to use it even though it was jamming, that you could completely break the gun.
Maybe that's
And then that you'd have to like
Yeah.
fix it later and spend days fixing it. So I think that you could say that like if it jammed or you didn't clean it enough, like, if you were just using it so much that then maybe you could add that as like there is a risk of it exploding because you've never
Yeah.
cleaned it.
Well, I think it could even just be a possible way of balancing if you wanted to have a campaign where you were like, no, guns should be super powerful. It's dumb for them not to be like mega powerful.
But
If
make
you
them
made
high
it like
risk.
dangerous,
Yeah.
then I mean, that
Yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
balance it.
And I'm sure there's something like that in here. Like I said, this isn't even half the rules.
Yeah.
Right.
Kind of a thing. This
just
is
a
just
little bit of a little hors d'oeuvre.
yeah,
A little bit of it, a little taste.
Appetizer.
Well,
a little
appetizer.
pre-meal,
A little bit of a
little
bite.
All right, let's move on. All right.
I didn't know where you were going with
I
that.
don't
I wanted to see how many words
I'm just
for
gonna keep
small
going.
amount of food
Yeah.
he had in his lexicon.
Aperitif.
But yeah, but as
Right? That's a thing.
as with all technology,
Aperitif.
you go as the primitive firearms go up, they get more complicated and they are more usable. And then you get to modern firearms, and then even the special firearms, you start getting really, really potent abilities and things like that, like the burst pistol, the automatic rifle, double-barreled shotgun,
Gun lance.
gun lance.
That is
no,
one.
but the double-barreled shotgun is basically the gun lance.
No, there is a gun lance.
Oh no, there's a gun lance.
Yeah, it's in special fire.
I didn't see that one.
I'm pretty sure I met someone in El Paso named Gunlance.
Named gun lance.
Gun lance. But yeah, and then there's even shoulder cannon special rules. Like it
Oh,
there's a
no.
lot going on here. But so let's read the shoulder cannon special rules just for a sec. You can make a special attack with the shoulder cannon that targets any creature within a 5 wide foot line out to its maximum range. Any target in the path of the special attack must succeed a dexterity modifier saving throw, strength saving throw. So this one they do get to try and punch the bullet out of the way.
Or just take it to the chest.
Take it to the chest. They take half damage on a successful and are knocked prone. Shoulder cannons are considered siege weapons for the purposes of damage. Shoulder cannons use special type of ammo known as the mini cannonball that weighs 2 pounds and costs 5 gold.
Very cool.
So yeah, so there are just a ton of these things. And there's he even has fighting styles set up later on in the
Wow.
PDF.
Oh wow.
A lot of them seem to just be kind of
Pretty in-depth.
repurposed already existing fighting style. Like there's a scattergun like There's a breacher specificity where it's if you're using a scatter gun, it's Great Weapon Master but for guns. So you can re-roll 1s and 2s to try and get more damage out of it. So you're really close. You're really good at close range with those guns.
I would really like. I'm sure if I said I want to hit him over the head with my gun, the DM would just say make an improvised weapon attack or something. Maybe use that. Maybe make a club attack.
What if it's got a bayonet?
But I would love if it was like a Final Fantasy-esque gun blade, where it's just a sword that has a gun in it. Because those also, by the way, were real things. They were not like for war. They were like fancy decorations. But people made them. Those exist.
Did you mean a bayonet?
No,
like a sword that
just has a gun.
I know. I was trying to transition.
Sorry, but yeah, I'm saying I would love it if it was like I would like to use my long sword two-handed. Then as my extra attack, I want to shoot it.
What if you had like a big old gun and you had special like battle sprockets that you put in it, and then there were like little knives on like a long like linked chain that could spin around, so you had like this gun, but then on the bottom of it, it had this like series of blades that rotated around, so you could like saw through people, and then that way you could have this like Sprockets of Battle style gun.
Sprockets of Battle sounds like the name of a YA like book series.
Sprockets of Battle is the next one shot I'm running.
I'm down. All right, but yeah, so there's all these kinds of, you know, like I said, bayonetter or bayoneteer is
Bayonetta. You said.
Yeah.
Bayonetter.
Are there gun shoes?
Bayonet is a whole class now.
Bayonet is a class.
You know what? There's gun shoes.
I would like to be
whatever.
I'd like to be a Bayonetta, please.
I would like to be. I would like to be a male Goliath Bayonetta. Thank you.
I'd just like to be Bayonetta. Thank you. She's pretty cool.
She's very confident in herself. All right, but it's just you gain bonuses for fighting with bayonets. All weapons with bayonets that you wield gain reach of 10 feet, kind of a thing. So it's just you can get real specific with how you want to fight with guns. There's pistol whipper, rifle master, all these different kind of things. Pistol whippersnapper, mounted shooting, heavy weapons guy is even one of them.
Heavy weapons guy.
Yes.
Very good.
I miss this man. But it's been a long time since I played that game. I should get back into it.
I fear no man, but
that thing, it scares me. All right. But yeah, so that is gun.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Onog.
Very good.
Thank you for bringing that into our lives and for opening the door for so many puns, because I know that you love them.
You know that I did that on purpose.
Thank you for breaching the doorway into puns.
All right. So
two tapping your way through that performance.
okay.
Two tap? What?
I don't know.
Was that a double tap?
Okay.
I don't know what I'm doing anymore.
All right. Well, we have something exciting. We're gonna review our first user submission or listener submission.
Users, yeah. Everyone
I'm
who
sure
uses,
someone uses the podcast.
Everyone, you've been using us.
I just feel used.
All right, yeah. So the same person who submitted that amazing haiku, which is going to be a thing that we request of all of our submissions from now on. If it doesn't contain a haiku, we won't review it.
I'll review it.
Okay, well, Bean will have her own sideshow where she reviews haiku-less ones, but
I do.
Those aren't good enough
guys,
for the main show.
You can submit them without a haiku, and we won't be angry. We're just disappointed.
We will be disappointed. That's a
bringing it back.
Callback.
Callback. Episode 0.
So this was from user TrashMantine.
Is it TrashMantine?
No,
Mantine.
You're not
Mantine.
pronouncing it correctly.
I don't know.
TrashMantine.
I'm the Trash Man. Teen. Anyway, we'll credit them in the description. Thank you so much for submitting these.
They are also of the lesser existence.
Yes, of the lesser existence. And they submitted 2 subclasses for us. We might use one of them, or we might review one of them later on. Today, I wanted to review specifically the Time Lord Sorcerer subclass. So this is a subclass for sorcerers who wants to be the character from the BBC show Doctor Who. That's
I'll be
it.
honest, the Venn diagram of people who play D&D and people who like Doctor Who, there's a strong crossover.
There's a strong correlation there.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious, which Doctor, though?
No, who Doctor?
Which Doctor is a different subclass?
Which Doctor is a warlock subclass?
Yeah.
Wait, come on, Onog.
What of the Doctors, though?
Woof. Dr. Woof. let's start off. You have additional spells. We won't go through all of these, but we'll put it up on the screen here. So at each specified level, sorcerers get additional spells. That's a sorcerer.
Of course he gets knock.
So yeah. Tasha's Hideous Laughter. Oh, the interesting thing that he does, I'm not sure if this is in... So yeah, the spell options are a little bit different in that there's actually 2 options each time there's an expanded spell, like an additional spell. So at first level, you can choose between either getting Tasha's Hideous Laughter added to your spell list or Cause Fear. At 3rd level, you can choose between Knock and Arcane Lock. At 5th level, Haste and Slow. And at 7th level, Lehman's Secret Chest or Dimension Door.
I really like that you get the options because sometimes...
You're kind of crafting it yourself.
Well, and often you're like, you get this spell, and with how you're building your character, you're like, well, that's not really a spell I would ever use. So this is nice because it allows
it's not a bad idea.
Versatility.
Yeah, so at 1st level, you get the ability Expanded Knowledge. A Time Lord is naturally above average in their intellect. Select 2 skills from the following: Arcana, History, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability check you make that uses either of these proficiencies. In addition, you learn 3 languages of your choice.
Nice.
Cool.
I just realized I never introduced what a Doctor Who is. If you're not familiar with the BBC show Doctor Who, it follows the adventures of an alien named the Doctor. He goes by the name the Doctor. They go by the name the Doctor. They are an alien from the race Time Lords, which is a race of beings, not a title of person. And he or she, they, go through space and time on adventures in a time-traveling machine called the TARDIS that can also move through space. So it's like a half spaceship, half time machine, kind of Star Wars meets Back to the Future. Pretty much frees them up to do anything they want. They want to do an episode in World War II on Earth? Sure. They want to do an episode in the year 20 billion on, like, another galaxy's space station? Sure. Why not?
Or if they want to do an episode during World War II on Earth. Or an episode during World War II on Earth.
Or an episode in London, England.
Yeah,
or another episode in a place filmed to look like London, England.
So just to clarify, one of the reasons you're kind of throwing around different pronouns is because the Doctor, I think it's important to say, like, switches...
Well, we'll get there, though.
Okay.
That's part of this.
Oh, okay.
We'll get there. Don't worry
okay.
about it.
Okay.
There's an important part of the Doctor that we will address later. Okay, at 6th level, you have Psychic Friendship. So in the TV show Doctor Who, the Doctor has something called psychic paper, that the Doctor uses. The paper imprints upon the viewer of it any information that the Doctor says it contains, and or information that you would believe it contains.
He's like, this is my driver's license.
It's like the Jedi mind trick, but it's paper.
But it's paper. This puts it more into actually just being a Jedi mind trick instead of having an item you carry. It is just an ability you have to say, look, I'm the plumber. You got to let me in. And they go, okay, we believe you. So this is how they solved that problem. They said, you can subtly influence the minds of others, select one target that can hear you and shares a language with you. You may expend 2 sorcery points to force it to make a charisma saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failure, so if they fail, you can alter how that target views you. You can change their general opinion about you, view you as a criminal, as a commander, and other higher up, or you can have them have some reason for them to trust or distrust you. Any persuasion, intimidation, or deception checks made against affected targets are made with advantage. The effect lasts for 1 hour. The ability fails if the target becomes hostile. So if the jig is up, they see through the lies, and they go, wait a minute, you aren't really the Pope.
So this is like Friends Plus.
Yeah, it's kind of an expanded Friends.
It surprises me that they don't get illusory script. Because psychic paper.
Well, but yeah, it's not, I mean, kind of. That's fair.
So this seems to be something
Nobody
that...
wants illusory script.
This seems to be something that is kind of loosely based, not very loosely, but like more inspired by Time Lords, rather than like, I'm literally taking exactly what happens in Doctor Who and putting it on paper. It's like, I'm taking this
trying to find ways to tie it together of... The Doctor always is able to get in where they want to by convincing people that they're somebody that they aren't.
Or just like, no, I've got tickets to the party right here. And then they're like, oh yeah, come on in.
You do, my bad. Or he's like, wait, I am the queen. And you're like, okay, I guess you are. Come on in.
I have a paper here saying that I am the queen.
Yeah. Well, there's a couple of times in the show where it's used for comedic effect where the Doctor even doesn't know exactly what it would say because the Doctor doesn't know what that person would need to see. They go, I think you'll find everything's in order and I'm supposed to be here. And then they give them the paper and they go, oh, you're sent on a secret mission from Her Majesty? And he's like, yep.
So it's
Whatever
not that-
you read. Yes.
I don't see. We're revealing here. I don't actually know that much about Doctor Who,
Wow.
but
Okay. Unfriended.
Spoiler alert.
I'm revealing I don't know a ton about Doctor Who. So it's not that the paper says whatever the Doctor thinks should be on it, but the paper just puts whatever information is necessary via whatever the other person needs to see.
It's almost like
To
a
make their
sort
intent
of
come to
hypnosis.
Yeah.
It makes them more likely to believe what he's saying. So if what he's saying is that he belongs here, the paper is something that their brain comes up with what the paper is.
So if he says like I'm a police officer, it's gonna show like a police
police
badge.
badge.
because you believe it.
Yeah.
But
so
like,
you go, oh, that would make sense then.
but if
Yeah.
he's at some crazy underground government facility and the security guard is like, "What are you doing here?" and there's like only one or two super specific reasons that a person would ever need to be down there,
He
and
doesn't
then
even need to know it.
Yeah, he just hands them the paper and it says like something ridiculous. Like,
I am test subject B, arrest me.
Yes.
Weird.
I mean, that makes sense that you're here.
this is Elvis, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, sir, we're so glad you're back," and they like bring him
Come
in.
on in. Yeah, exactly. All right, let's move on to the next ability. Sonic tools. So the Doctor has a sonic screwdriver in the TV show, which is a fun sci-fi word for he has a thing that does whatever the plot needs it to do at any given
Doesn't
moment.
work on wood.
Doesn't work on wood.
And
very
it melts
importantly.
enemies
Sometimes. Other
just does
times it
stuff.
does nothing.
It just sort of looks like a glowing, grabby anal probe, kind of like.
You can't say that. Come on.
Oh, sorry, rectal probe.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, no, it's like a glow stick. It's like a little just generic tech object. It changes looks throughout the seasons.
Someone in their prop department in season 1 threw a bunch of stuff together on a stick.
Well, in actual Doctor Who season 1, it was a metal stick. It had no defining features.
Yep.
Later on, it got more and more kind of like unique and.
Well, because
It's like a wizard's wand. Or
Yeah, it's sort
or
of a
Jedi's
wizard's wand.
lightsaber.
But, like, all of-
it's a piece of technology unique to
that's
them.
what I'm saying is like that was just a thing they did, but then all of the next seasons were like, well, we gotta make something of it. So they've gotten more and more intricate.
It's gotten more elaborate.
Some of them kind of look like, you know, in Jurassic Park when they pull out the Barbasol egg hidey thing. That has always reminded me
That's a sonic
of a sonic screwdriver.
You're not wrong. You're
I feel
not
like-
wrong.
I feel like what's happening is that the sonic screwdriver is sort of going through that phase in high school where it really needs to be unique and it like needs to be special in some way. And so it is like becoming more and more extravagant in its identity performance as it's like, no, look, I'm special. Can't you notice me?
No, Mom, it's not a phase. I have prongs, okay?
I have prongs now.
It's
I
just-
spin now, okay? My colors change now. I used to just be a metal stick, but I have all kinds of
Mom,
stuff.
you know I don't work on wood. Why would you ask me?
So,
Oh, gosh.
because it has sort of this multi-tool ability of being kind of a get out of jail free, it's a key, it's a pass card, it scans for things. He's given this sonic tool a variety of effects. So at 14th level, you gain a sonic tool of your choice. You select one of the following spells: Arcane Lock, Dark Vision, Identify, Magic Aura, or Knock, which are pretty good for things that
fair enough.
it could do.
Well, because the Doctor usually uses the sonic screwdriver to like open a door or like
lock a door.
lock a door, hack into a computer, or like, oh no, this is broken. Like it's just
or be like, I'm getting weird life signs.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
also like the ghost meter.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah, definitely.
The spirit box.
yeah.
It's a Ouija board. So you're
Very round
Guys,
Ouija
we
board.
need to make a class for like the Zach Baggins like
Yes, Ghost Adventure class.
he is a halfling. I mean, he's a bag.
Yeah,
So you're
but he's never heard that one before.
yeah, that's never come up. Your tool can cast your chosen spell without consuming any spell slots, and all components are replaced with only somatic components. If it is lost, you may spend 50 gold and 1 hour of time to replace it, in which the
That's really cheap.
original breaks. So you can't make multiple copies. When you make a new one, the final moment of it, the old one stops working. The sonic tool can only be used by you and specified creatures, so it can't be used against you by your enemies.
Oh, so this is kind of
Because you
like,
have to know how to use it.
mechanically, this is very similar to the wizard's like late level abilities, where you just get to cast a spell for free,
yeah.
anytime you want.
Almost like a spellmaster, yeah. Beginning at 18th level, you can select a second spell to add to the tool. So it can now do two things. So instead of only being able to open doors, now it can open doors and lock doors, or it can open doors and identify magic objects, or whatever.
I mean, seeing that as this is at 14th level, I think that this is great. It's super on flavor with Doctor Who, and it's not so overpowered, but it's super convenient. That's awesome. imagine having a campaign where your low-level players, like, find a sonic screwdriver that another person left behind, and it only works sometimes because it's, like, temperamental.
One of my favorite things to do with new players is if they're playing like a level 1 campaign is have their first mission, have them be hired by like a high-level wizard who gives them a bunch of like super high-level magic items, and then after the job is done, takes them all away again and goes, no. But it gives them a fun like taste of like the potential of D&D, and then he goes, I can't trust you with these. What do you mean? You can't have them. I was letting you borrow them.
I see you went to the Metroid School of Game Design.
Yeah. So the final ability, regeneration. So this is where we can talk about that. First of all, though, at 18th level, you gain immunity to force damage.
Nice.
Where does that come from?
I don't know.
I think, like...
Is that a reference?
I think Doctor Who is immune to certain amounts of...
I mean, he's like hearty.
He's immune to, like, radiation to a certain degree, things like that.
But force damage, I haven't ever seen an episode where someone beat Doctor Who with a baseball bat and the
That's
bat
not
broke.
force damage, that's bludgeoning.
damage.
Okay.
This
Force
would be
damage
like
is
energy damage.
literally-
from,
Yeah.
It's a misleading word.
I always
Yeah.
get this mixed up.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, it's a little random, but I'm fine with
Force
it. Whatever.
damage is Eldritch Blast.
Yeah. You're 18th level, it's fine.
Okay.
In addition, upon dying, you can choose to come back in a new body. This is your 18th level ability. So this is not the spell, this is an ability. So in the TV show Doctor Who, when the Doctor dies, the Doctor regenerates. This was originally done because the original actor was done with the show, but they wanted to keep the show going, and so they brought on a new actor, and they needed to find a plot device of saying it's the same person, they just look different now.
Well, and instead of just doing, and the part of Doctor will now be played by
Yeah.
so-and-so.
Yeah. So they wrote it into the story of the Doctor was an old man with gray hair, and then in like his last moments, kind of like glows and changes, and then is replaced by a new actor who was like the second Doctor was like a much younger looking man and had a very different personality.
Basically, Beauty and the Beast.
Kind of, yeah. And so that's
Except
happened
20 times over the past 30 years.
That's happened multiple times. I think they're on 13 now, 14.
I think
something like that.
Yeah.
And so the Doctor, for most of the Doctor's regenerations, the Doctor
14,
was a
15.
man, but the most recent regeneration, the Doctor came back as a woman. And so the Doctor, for Time Lords, gender is kind of a separate concept because they come back over and over again. A person might be both male and female over the course of their lifetime, which is an interesting like sci-fi conceit.
And while there are certain qualities that stay the same between Doctors, they are often incredibly same memories, and often they are quirky, but they are very different people. Like I mean, the whole
they're often quirky in very different ways.
Yeah. Well, and there's like the guy with the weird big face.
Matt.
You're going to
Smith.
need to narrow
Matt
that
Smith.
down.
I knew who you meant. The
So-
guy without eyebrows.
His first episode, he basically spends half the episode figuring out what
kind of a
foods-
person he is.
Yeah, and like what
How does
foods
he like to dress?
Yeah, how does he like to dress? And he's like trying to figure out what food he likes to eat, and he's like hates beans, even though his last Doctor loved beans. Because he's just a completely different person.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing where it does carry through some essence of them because the Doctor is always like an adventurer, is always self-sacrificial, like will always like help other people in need. The Doctor has always had certain qualities, but other qualities change drastically. And I think that's fun. And there's an interesting interplay where sometimes the Doctor will even... there's been a couple times where the Doctor has either time traveled or had visions or things where they've interacted with previous iterations of themselves and they have disagreed on things, or their past self has given them like mentorship that they needed in the future, or vice versa.
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, or vice versa, like in different ways where that story of these different people have all been the same person can impact who you become in the future. I like that as a story conceit, and this table, it says you come back to life with HP equal to your sorcerer level plus your charisma modifier. The DM picks the new body or rolls a D100. It's just the reincarnation table from the spell reincarnation. The number rolled determines the new body for you, which might not be the same race as the old body. You retain your capabilities, save for your racial traits, which must be changed if given a new race. after using this feature, you cannot use it until you finish a long rest.
Oh,
so if
you got to go to sleep before you do that
If you die twice in a day, you die.
That's sort of a thing in Doctor Who. Like, they talk about it takes a long time for the process to, like, finish all the way, and they, like, can't be interrupted, I think.
Yeah, there was a whole big plot
there was
conceit.
a literal Christmas episode where they intentionally interrupted the regeneration process, which
like,
becomes a plot point like 3 years later.
Yeah.
There's been a couple of plots where they kind of use that as a sci-fi plot device of that energy.
Just kidding, I didn't die.
Yeah. Or like the explanation of it being purposefully vague of like, I don't know, they just regenerate. Like, don't worry about it. So then later on, like the Doctor uses their regeneration power to heal someone, and you're like, I guess that's a thing you can do. Like,
I still have regeneration power in me. I can bring him back.
Yeah. So it's
now they're also Scottish.
Now they're a Time Lord.
I do think it's just worth pointing out, in case anyone's wondering about it, I think the reason why it specifies that you can have any race, but it doesn't mention gender, is because gender is not a mechanical thing in 5e.
Yeah.
No.
So it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I don't even think the reincarnation spell itself mentions gender.
No.
Because it's just not a mechanic.
That's probably up to you and your DM as to how that goes story-wise.
I mean, and if you want to
it doesn't matter.
If you want the biological sex of your new character to be a thing that could be up to chance, I mean, just roll a d6 and odds and evens, or flip a coin, I guess is easier.
But I'm just pointing out that the fact that it isn't mentioned doesn't mean that they're saying it has to stay the same. They just aren't bringing it up because it doesn't matter mechanically.
Yeah, it's just not brought up because... Yeah. It also doesn't mention what age you come back as. You could come back as a younger person or as an older person. Yeah. That's the fun of it. I think that is a cool thing where it almost incentivizes sorcerers to die every once in a while, just to mix things up.
And what's even better too, though, is this actually incentivizes you to die a little bit, because you come back with with HP equal to your sorcerer level plus your charisma modifier, which
you're gonna get stronger.
Now that I'm doing math, is actually
worse.
That's actually worse.
Wait, is it?
Yeah.
Because it's not
if you're level
D6.
10.
Because it's a D6 per sorcerer level plus your Constitution modifier is how health is determined.
Yeah.
But this, so if you died at level 10,
if
you died at level 10 with maximum charisma, you now have is this the max HP or is this just...
No, that's just how you heal back.
That's just you heal this much. Okay.
Yeah.
I was concerned that was your total max HP.
It doesn't say max.
Yeah.
Got it.
If your Constitution stat is the same, you'll have the same.
You'll have the same hit points.
Yeah. If your max HP is the same, it'll just come back with the same hit points total, but that's saying that in the moment you die, you reincarnate as this new person and you heal up 16 points or something like that.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but enough to live.
Enough to be alive and probably not die in the next attack.
Go take a long rest.
Yeah, hopefully survive.
Yeah.
I think this is cool because often sorcerers are sort of the ultimate squishy class. Like them and wizards, I would say, are tied.
Yeah.
Sorcerers actually, more often than not, do have... I know Dragon Blood sorcerers, they're kind of specifically designed to be less squishy, but yeah.
Well, you can always alter
Yeah.
things, but I'm just saying that this is a cool way of encouraging spellcasters to take risks and get in the combat more.
That would influence your personality. Knowing that death isn't the end for you will mean that you might do a riskier thing, and you might even be more selfless than you would have been. Because you're like, well, if I go in there and save that person, I'll die, but I'll just come back. And that's fine. So we can go out of our way to save that person when otherwise we would say it's too dangerous.
Well, or even just in combat, things this is a very high-level ability. Yeah. But then you don't just have to be the person that's on the edge just sort of spamming spells into there. You can be like, I'm going to get up in there. And even just role-playing wise, I know that a lot of spellcasters often feel like they are put to the side or that they can't get in as much.
Yeah.
Or they just don't want to, and this might be a great way of helping spellcasters expand their way of thinking about role-playing or battle and encourage them to get in there, because then if something bad happens to them, okay, they're going to regenerate. And sure, they got to get out of there so that they don't die again.
Right.
But, if it's but they'll have to take this inside the building, and then whoever takes it in there will die, and the sorcerer can be like, dog, it's fine.
Dude, I got it. Don't worry about it.
I'm a god!
I'm a Time Lord! That's what I brought this week.
All right. Well, thank you, Thomas.
Yeah, thank you for...
That's a really fun one.
Thanks for a listener for submitting that. It was great. We will probably end up talking about the other submission that they sent in eventually at some point.
Yeah.
But that was the one I wanted to talk about today.
I think that's really cool.
TrashMantine.
Yeah.
Great build.
Yeah,
I think this is
a lot of
awesome.
creativity, a lot of flavor. I really enjoyed it.
Definitely. So I have brought a list of spells again. We've been covering a lot of spells recently.
Yeah.
I think as a wizard, I'm always interested in new spells.
I'm also interested in when you learn new spells so I can steal them.
Yeah, fair enough. Classic lore bards.
LOL.
So this is from the D&D Homebrew Reddit from user Seething Ginger.
Ooh.
That's a great name.
I know, it really is. So this is...
like the food or like the person?
I'm guessing the person, but I don't know that for a fact.
It's a piece of ginger root, and it's mad at you for grating it into all the different foods
But
you've
it
been
is
making.
also Irish.
So this is Cold Forged, Homebrew Additional Ice Spells.
Oh, ice spells.
Yeah. So Seething Ginger said that they were looking at elemental spell diversity, and they found it pretty lacking, which I think is a very fair complaint.
Unless you really like fire.
Yeah.
Lots of fire.
Then the
Yep.
spell damage type diversity is very lacking.
But Thomas and I were actually talking about that earlier. I feel that in 5e, the way that wizards specifically are built, I wish that the subclasses were more diverse from each other. But because they are all pretty similar feeling, I think a lot of the ways that wizards define their flavor is in the spell list that they choose for themselves, because wizards have a lot of spells to choose from. And so if you say, like, I want to be an ice mage, and then you're
Just
like,
isn't
oh, well,
much
like...
Then there are 4 ice
Yeah,
spells.
you can
Yeah.
take Blizzard, you can take Sleet Storm, you can take Ray of Frost.
And that
That's
can be
it.
that can be
I got
disappointing.
frostbite now.
Oh, Frostbite?
Little bit of a tangent here, but I am working on a D&D creative project, and we were having some people come in and sort of like submit character ideas, and one person said that they practiced Abimancy? Abimancy, but like
like
bee
the band ABBA.
No, bee magic. So they all of their spells.
Abimancy or something like
Well,
that.
because it's an aviary. It's like a bee.
Oh, is that a bee?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No.
Aviary is bird. Abimancy. And so, like, all of their spells, they just took normal spells and had reflavored them to all involve bees. And it was horrifying, but very cool.
Ray of Bees.
Yeah. Or
They
but
just sting your feet. You can't move.
But things like Zone of Truth, like a bunch of
Zone-
bees come out and like
Zone of
swirl
bees.
around you, and you have to tell the truth, or the bees will sting you.
Oh,
That's
you mean
so
they just
funny.
reflavored? Okay.
No.
Well, that makes sense, though. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were saying they literally were like, Zone of Truth is now Zone of Bees. It's a completely different spell. You make a Zone of Bees. But it's just Zone of Truth, but it's flavored like the reason why. That's actually, I was going to bring that up because I had a player who wanted to play an ice mage once, and they didn't know how to play D&D. They said, can you kind of build the character for me a little bit to kind of get me involved in it? So I went through, and what I did was I gave them a bunch of spells that I just said. I was like, you get the, like, slow time, like, they had slow or something like that, I think. And I was like, it's not that you're slowing time for that person, you're just, like, freezing them. And they're moving slower now. And that was how I did it, too, with just reflavoring. So it wasn't, like, actual new frost spells.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Seething Ginger said that they are working on elemental spells in general in batches.
Cool.
And they really
Nice.
wanted each element to have a unique feel, which I think is a good idea. So the Cryomancer is a master of the powers of cold,
What are you gonna
using
do, cry.
okay, using their spells to hold, halt, and slow the opponents while still dealing a significant amount of damage. Which I think is the flavor that people would think of with
That's just
ice,
Skyrim
of like
rules.
freeze. It's Skyrim rules, yeah, just like
Well,
freezing
like
people in place.
even on the base level in D&D, the
Ray of
fire
Frost.
cantrip firebolt does 1d10 damage varying on your level,
Yeah.
and that's it. But the Ray of Frost
Yeah.
damaging cantrip does 1d8, but it has an extra ability to slow the opponent down.
Yeah.
So it's like that. So like ice having slightly less damage but an additional effect is a very good idea.
This
Yeah.
is why the penguin player race is one of the most powerful races in the game,
Here
because
come
you're not
penguin race.
slowed down by ice spells.
Yeah, I think penguins are immune to ice damage.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is great. This is a super recent post, and they just wanted feedback on it,
Yeah,
so
it
they
looks
shared
like
with the
they've even
community.
been
Well,
updating it.
we're professional feedback givers, so
You're
let's
getting
all...
paid?
Oh, yeah. I'm the only one getting paid. I
I'm
keep it all myself. I don't distribute it.
I am paying myself.
All right, so there are 3 of these spells. I would encourage you to look through all of them. I think they did a great job, but there are 3 specifically that I want to look at that I think are interesting.
Let's go.
So the first one is Tomb of Ice. It is a 5th level conjuration spell. The casting time is 1 action. It has a range of 60 feet. Components are VSM and a patch of ice mummy skin. Spooky.
Ice mummy.
Is that a thing?
Not that I know.
No, well, ice mummies are like what the Appalachian Man or something? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like people who have been found entombed in ice. Like
Oh,
like
got
Scooby Doo
it.
caveman.
Where they were mummified by
Look, he's
ice.
in there and we're out here. Who's the caveman?
is where's the caveman?
If you guys have, we'll link that video in the description.
Yeah, we will. It's worth
Yeah,
it.
but like those little withered guys that are in
That
Yeah,
makes
people
sense.
who have
Okay.
died in like ice
Okay.
storms.
Now
or
I'm just
blizzards.
imagining wizards
Got
going up into the mountains with a snow shovel, just being like, I hope there's a person in here.
You're just describing what necromancers do every day.
So,
I
all right.
really hope there used to be a person in
I
here.
really hope there's a person in here.
So the duration is concentration up to 1 minute.
Okay.
So you cause ice to cover a creature you can see within range. It must make a Constitution saving throw. If it fails the saving throw, it takes 5d6 cold damage and is restrained.
Ooh.
On a successful save, it takes half damage.
He's restrained. Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good.
A restrained creature must make a Constitution saving throw at the end of each of its turns to end the effect. On the first failed saving throw, it becomes stunned. On a third, the creature becomes completely entombed in ice in a state of suspended animation, becoming petrified.
Oh, so this is like a petrified.
So
Yeah.
he's so immobile, he's scared.
It's like a slow petrify.
Scared. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
If you maintain concentration on this spell until the end, the petrification is permanent until the creature is removed from the ice. Otherwise, the creature is released from the petrification when the spell ends. A petrified creature can be carefully removed from the ice by hand, taking 10 minutes, or by dealing the tomb 25 fire damage. An entombed creature takes half of any damage dealt to the tomb.
Wow.
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Oh, no, I'm
I
glad
understand the rules distinction that needed to be made, but I love the sentence. It is permanent until they are freed from the ice.
Yeah.
It is permanent until it is not permanent.
But it means it
Look,
isn't
this
just going
door
to,
is
like,
closed
melt,
until it's
like-
open. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. It will last
Because it's
theoretically
magic
forever.
ice. It's magic ice,
Unless
yeah.
someone
So, I mean,
interacts with it.
this
yeah.
kind of reminds me of like gelatinous cubes almost, but like of ice.
It's pretty strong. I think it's a reflavoring of the petrify.
I like that it's a slow petrify.
Yeah. Petrify
it's a
does that though.
I think this even has even more layers.
Yeah, it has more layers, but,
but it
petrify
does
has
damage as well.
Yeah, petrify
So-
has
Yeah.
a progressive. If you keep failing saves, you eventually are completely petrified.
I mean, this is Avatar: The Last Airbender with Katara and Azula, and she's like
Yes.
throws up the
So
huge.
rad. Literally so cool.
So I do want to. I mean, looking here, it says on a successful save, it takes half damage. So I think that implies that you're still restrained by the ice. You just
take
aren't
less
as
damage.
hurt
Interesting.
by it.
It
Yeah,
doesn't say
that is what it
and
says.
is not restrained. Ooh.
You are
It's just a
restrained.
guaranteed restraint.
Pretty-
So if you can
pretty
break the
much.
concentration of, if your team or whoever else can break the concentration of the person casting it,
That's true.
Then you
Then-
can stop it.
I mean,
And you are, at least at the first levels, you are still just restrained.
Yeah, you're
well, they're
restrained.
You
making
can take actions.
Yeah.
You can
they're,
get
they're
out.
So
making
you
a
can cast your own
Constitution
spells.
saving throw at the end of each of its turns to end the effect.
Yeah.
So like they have a
So
chance.
they have
Yeah.
opportunities to get out.
Yeah. And so if they make a saving throw during any of those points, the spell's completely over. It's not like it
Yeah.
goes back a step or something. like
They're
that.
out.
They're just out. They break.
Yeah.
it.
It's
Got
just
it.
that at the very first, it guarantees that opponent has at least one sucky turn
Yeah.
where
So-
they're restrained.
Basically, like, first stage of the spell is like chipping away. I'm just a guy with a boomerang. I didn't ask. That's the first stage. And then, like, by the end, we get to Katara throwing up the ice wall. Like, there's
Literally
levels
so
of it.
cool. Yeah, so I think that's a really interesting one. I mean, like you said, it is a reworking of Petrify.
Or at least is inspired by.
is
it.
or is inspired by, but that is
I like
that is
that.
in no way a bad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
That's a
use what's
great
there.
That's a
to
bad
start.
thing. You're uncreative.
No,
No.
there's no sarcasm in
This
a
is
media
why-
in
this is-
an audible format.
This is why the ginger is seething. Because you keep saying they're bad.
Yeah, no,
That's
that's
very
great, and
good.
that's how you should make spells. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Work from a solid base and go from there in your own.
Yeah, I think they've done a good job of all of the spells feeling different and feeling like they're exploring a different aspect of
Yeah.
cold.
Yeah.
And what feels like it makes
And
sense.
it isn't just a repainting. It is
No.
a different
definitely.
It's a different spell, yeah.
So it's
What's
good.
another one of them?
Yeah, so I also want to talk about Cold Snap, which is 7th level conjuration.
That's not a good set.
Yeah, nobody really talks about Cold Snap.
That's Magic the Gathering reference.
Oh, there you
Let's
go.
We move on.
So
Okay.
it's a 7th level conjuration, casting time of 1 action, range self 200-foot radius. Components are somatic. It means that it is a 200-foot radius centered on yourself. So components somatic, duration concentration up to 1 minute, so combat. You snap your fingers, and the temperature drops below freezing in an instant, and half of the universe dies. Yeah, that's in there. You snap your fingers, and
I don't think that's...
Spider-Man turns to dust.
that's-
Oh no! I didn't get what you were making a joke about, but now I do, and I'm so sad.
They all just turn into little pieces of snow and drift away.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Asarak. Asarak? How do you pronounce his name?
Mr. Stark, I don't feel so
the Lich,
warm.
Asarak.
Oh.
The famous D&D monster. That's all.
Anyway,
Move on.
in a 200-foot area centered on you, the temperature drops so cold as to make breath turn to ice and the air fill with crystallized water. The area of the spell is lightly obscured. Each creature you designate in the area when the spell is cast must make a Constitution saving throw, so you get to determine who this affects, which is pretty powerful.
So you just make a frosty zone.
Yeah, but you get to specify who's affected
Slushy
within it.
zone.
Must make a Constitution saving throw or suffer 1 level of exhaustion.
Whoa!
Yeah, creatures made of
Hardcore.
fire have disadvantage on this save. Affected creatures,
Interesting. You'd think they would have advantage because they're so warm.
but no,
That-
But the
Because
cold,
it's the
the
opposite
cold
element.
impacts them.
because it like extinguishes them,
I
their
get-
being.
I get it, but they're much warmer than I am. So the level that they're changing is much high. So weird. I don't know. That's
I
interesting.
mean, but that's just how this. I mean,
Yeah.
it could just be that the spell was designed
to
magically
put out fires.
to impact
Yeah.
fire.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think
That's
it
fair.
makes
That's
sense. Affected creatures that end their turn in the spell area must make a Constitution saving throw. If they fail, they suffer another level of exhaustion. These exhaustion levels persist as long as a creature is within the spell's area, and a creature recovers 1 level of exhaustion granted by the spell for each turn they start outside the spell's area. So you become exhausted, but if you can get out...
But it's not real
yeah,
exhaustion.
Yeah, this isn't like lasting for
Oh,
days.
man. I wish there was I wish we called it like temp exhaustion or something, because that would get confusing of tracking. Like, well, I have 2 levels of normal exhaustion and 2
And then I
levels
have-
of spell exhaustion.
And then I have 1 level of my grung exhaustion because I didn't bathe in water, and that
Yeah. I
mean,
explicitly
the problem
only
there
goes
is
away.
that like
Still screaming.
there isn't a system or language
Yeah.
of temporary exhaustion.
No, I know.
So.
I'm not saying that's this creator's fault.
Yeah.
I'm saying that I wish exhaustion was a little different.
I have
yeah.
a question.
yeah. what's up?
Yes.
Do you think Goliaths would be affected by this?
Why?
They would, I would say they
not
would
be.
if it were to be. It doesn't specify, and it is a
it doesn't say
Constitution
it's like
saving throw.
ice damage, because Goliaths are like can handle themselves in cold weather.
But are they like resistant to frost damage?
They're not.
No, but
they're
it's
not resistant
specifically
to frost damage, but they are specifically like.
Do they have advantage on saving or on like exhaustion against like cold weather?
Yeah, they
They do.
basically.
They would.
I think.
I'd say-
I think. Well, it doesn't say they have advantage on it. They just say they don't make.
They don't
the checks.
like they don't get
So I
exhausted
wouldn't.
in cold
I wouldn't
weather.
say
Interesting.
because this is a specific
that is
spell designed
interesting.
to
Yeah.
cause this.
I would.
Yeah.
I
It's
would say that
magic.
maybe,
Maybe you give them
Goliaths have
advantage,
advantage
yeah.
on this.
Yeah.
It would be up to you, but you could also argue it's a magic spell.
Yeah.
It's not the same as cold
As
weather.
not. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
the same
You'd
as
probably
actual
have to
natural
make.
weather.
You'd have to make a table rule.
Yeah,
I
because they're
think.
not taking ice damage, but it doesn't say like it just sort of makes an area
Well,
of super cold
it
weather.
doesn't even like specify because it doesn't. Oh, that is interesting. It doesn't say anywhere like you're not taking cold or ice damage. So even
You're
like
just
becoming
taking
a
exhausted.
creature made of ice who's immune to like cold damage
would still be
would
damaged.
still become
Which is a little
exhausted.
weird.
Well, it almost if you think
Except
of it,
most
almost
of those
more
are probably
like
immune to exhaustion.
it's almost like petrify, where it's not so much that it's making you so cold you die. It's just like freezing you so you can't like move. You know, because exhaustion.
Kind of, yeah.
Kind of.
Exhaustion gets there. Exhaustion though is mostly just like you start getting disadvantage on stuff and can move slower.
But eventually
Well,
you can't move.
but
Eventually you
you
can't
die.
move and you just die.
Yeah.
This is very interesting because this is a very this can easily set up, especially too because it can be targeted. This can easily set up a death spiral if used by an NPC, where because everyone failed their save, they have disadvantage on ability checks. Okay, so the Goliath that's grappling the guy suddenly is not as good at grappling, and then suddenly everybody's movement speed is halved, so they can't get out, and then suddenly everybody's
saving throws are at disadvantage.
I mean, you
so
specify who it affects. Yeah.
slowly you just start
No, but he's
failing
saying, like,
and dying.
If an enemy casts it on you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so this can easily become
could really
a single man party killer.
It could really easily snowball.
Yeah.
It has a big radius.
Yeah, 200 feet.
I think that
I don't think I have a mech that's
like that's gonna be hard to get out of.
It's a 7th level spell.
It is a 7th level spell, and that's fair.
That's
I
fair.
think personally, and this is personal preference stuff, I think my feedback for this spell would be that the flavor of it I appreciate, but I think exhaustion is the wrong medium to be painting with here. I think you need to be applying specific effects or dealing damage or something. I don't think levels of exhaustion is the right thing for the spell to be like giving and taking away.
I get why you would try.
I mean?
Like I get why you would think you'd want to do it that way, but the system isn't really built.
I just think the exhaustion system is too frustrating to deal with.
It is annoying, although I do appreciate that there aren't a lot of spells that deal with exhaustion.
Yeah, but that's because it's annoying.
Because
it sucks.
Super annoying.
Yeah.
So I mean,
so like if I had any like personal advice for it, if I was gonna run a spell similar to this, I would end up having it instead of saying you gain levels of exhaustion, I'd say like the previous one, I'd give conditions after each failed save. I'd say after your first failed save, you have disadvantage on attacks. After your second failed save, you are 10 feet slower as opposed to like half of your speed. Which is still harsh.
And then that makes this individual
punishments.
spell a little more complicated, but it saves you from having to deal with
exhaustion.
Okay, and then they were already exhausted from this and
I mean, it is interesting though, and I do like what you're saying. You could also say something like, after your second failed save, every ability check you make has -5. And then the next one has minus whatever. Because that's at least easier to deal with than levels of exhaustion.
Yeah.
Because they
some
are
sort of conditions.
Yeah,
being
they are trying to say, because then
applied.
you have to like warm up when you get out of it.
And
so
I
you
get
could
that.
just say the
I like
reverse of those things happen each round as you
which
leave
is
it.
like what they're going for,
To be fair, I actually don't mind that it's exhaustion. Because like at a certain point too, like when you said like make it like the other spell, then is this just the mass version of that spell now, kind of a thing?
But it doesn't deal damage.
But it doesn't deal damage. But then is
definitely.
it even if it does do all those things, is it then worth it to waste a 7th level spell if it doesn't eventually actually kill someone, kind of a thing?
No, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so there's a lot to think about with that one. It's tricky. Building new spells is complicated because there's a lot that you have to bear in mind about resistances and like how will that interact with all these other effects, and so it's a complicated thing.
Easy, the easiest fix of all. Instead, you'll just have it drain levels of strength. No problem. There you go.
Oh boy.
You know, it'll just
so
be like a
much worse.
shadow, right? That's not frustrating to deal with in any way, and no one hates those, right? Yes, your strength starts going down, and then you die.
And then it just happens.
Yep. And you don't get those back.
That disproportionately would punish
Every
fighters.
well, no, I mean wizards would IV.
Yeah,
quick.
because they have no strength.
Wizards
You're
step
right,
in
you're
and
right.
immediately just freeze and shatter.
They just shrivel.
Shrink into like a tiny like skeleton person.
You're right. All right, so the third spell that I want to talk about, I think this one is very interesting, is Avalanche, a 9th level conjuration.
Yeah.
Nice.
Casting time of 1 action, range 300 feet, components, VSM, and an opal worth 100 gold pieces, and a small brass trumpet. Duration,
You gotta make a
instantaneous.
loud noise!
I love that.
Keep going.
That little bit
Or
there.
what if you just clapped and the clap
No, I like the trumpet.
It's very cute. It's very...
It can't be a big brass drum. It has to be small.
It has to be
It specifies
cute.
small.
Yeah. So, duration instantaneous. Snow, ice, and rock crash down violently, burying everything and destroying buildings. The avalanche comes crashing down, filling a space within range, up to 100 feet long and 40 feet wide, and will spread around corners. Each creature in the area when the avalanche begins must make a constitution saving throw. Each target that fails its save takes 25d6 cold damage and 15d6 bludgeoning damage, are unconscious, and buried under 20 feet of debris. A successful saving throw results in half damage. Oh, good. So that's not fine.
Good.
And the creature is pushed outside of the spell's area of effect to a space they choose. A creature buried by the debris is still alive, stable, and can breathe, but is hidden to all others. At the end of each of its turns that it remains buried, it must make a Constitution saving throw. If it fails, it takes 10d6 more cold damage. On a successful save, it regains consciousness and takes half that damage. You're gonna die real fast.
Yeah.
A creature can be removed from the snow by digging its way out at 5 feet per round. Meanwhile, you're taking more like d6s
How many
of
feet
cold
are you
damage.
buried under? 10?
It
said.
under 20 feet.
20? That's
Yeah,
4 rounds.
yeah, boys. 5 feet per round. Other people can assist by also digging 5 feet per round from above and attempt to rescue a creature either conscious or unconscious. Someone digging them out at 5 feet around. I think it's just a typo. A creature can also be freed by dealing 50 fire damage to its surroundings in the correct direction.
Okay. Or I guess probably do something like cast Dimension Door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure you could teleport.
I love that.
It's a great idea.
That's
I think it needs a little
crazy.
balancing.
It's 9th
It's
level,
not well.
dude.
That being said,
that's
though,
true.
we had the discussion of does just changing the damage type of a spell cause it to be problematic, and this is a little bit different, but this is also very similar to Meteor Storm, which is also a 9th level spell.
Which is
And
a big boy evocation
It does
spell.
it
Yeah.
does just as much initial damage, except instead of just 20 fire and 20d6 fire and 20d6 bludgeoning, it seems to have been split to 15-25.
Yeah.
But this one is actually better. It's not as versatile as Meteor Storm, because Meteor Storm summons multiple balls
Right.
that come crashing down in different areas. This is just one huge area that just gets blanketed and then continues to do residual damage
Yeah.
over time.
The part of it that I enjoy is that you can't shield your friends from it.
Yeah.
It's, if you're in the area, you're in the area.
Yeah.
I mean, and if you think about avalanches and the destruction they do, like in real life, they're serious stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, spell levels are a little bit more like the Richter scale, where
Kind of exponential.
yeah.
You can Mulan cast this away from you because the range is 300 and it fills the space up to 100 feet long.
Yeah.
No, you definitely can fill
Yeah.
another space, but I'm saying if you're like
You see
fighting,
that are becoming.
yeah. But if you're fighting people, like you're in combat with them,
You're
there's
all
no
going
way
down.
for you to distinguish friend and foe.
That is so many HP that you're going
I-
down like every turn.
I do love this. Like, if of course, if you're near a mountain or whatever, it just pulls snow. But if you're like in the middle of a field, it just happens. An avalanche comes out of nowhere, and it reminds me of that meme about people talking about like, what if snow happened all at once and it just fell in
Instead
like
of
a
one
huge
flake.
wow.
Yeah.
That'd be very destructive.
Yes, and that's literally a
That's
thing
just
that people.
what this is.
Yeah.
That's a thing that people talk about, and people there's like a comic of there's like no snow and then a big thick white bar that just falls down like whap and hits the ground, and that's just basically what this is an entire snowstorm happening all at once.
Yeah.
Now, also to give context, and I don't know if, because D&D isn't always the reality simulator everyone wants it to be, but 10d6 cold damage per round is the equivalent of falling 100 feet and landing on your face
Yeah.
around.
The only that's the part that I would choose to adjust.
Yeah,
If I was
yeah.
gonna like pick apart any single section of this spell, I'd say that's too much residual. Like most characters won't get to the surface. They'll
and
die
you want there to be a
first.
chance.
even
See-
if they pass the save,
Even if they
won't
keep
get-
passing saves, they'll die.
As annoying as it is this a place to employ exhaustion?
I would just say make the damage less. Like make
Yeah.
it so that it sucks. Like you're gonna take damage, but you have a chance of living at least. You know, you might get to the top and say I've only taken like 10 cold damage, but 10 cold damage on top of the damage from the blizzard like avalanche itself. It's already a lot.
I mean,
you're
maybe-
already feeling like crap.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
So
lot
yeah,
of
guarantee. Well, on average, if you fail the save on the first attack, which is 40d6, so that's 40 times 3.5, which is the average amount of damage a d6 will do. That's 140 damage,
Woof.
and then 10d6 times 3.5 is an average of 35 damage a round.
And that's like if no one is helping you crawl out, guaranteed 4 rounds because you have to
Yeah.
crawl out.
35 a round I think is too much.
Which just becomes so basically you get hit with 140 average damage if you fail the save, and then you get on your way out hit with another 140 damage. I know barbarians that are 20th
Yeah.
level that wouldn't survive that.
yeah.
Which I appreciate the idea of a spell no one will survive. I like that idea of
Yeah.
being like, this is your spell for wiping out armies. I appreciate that as a concept, but because of how D&D works, anyone who can cast this spell, like you
Can
could
use it.
You could have your bad guy cast a spell on you, and does it feel
That's
like
a
there's
TPK.
any way to fight against
Yeah,
it?
is it a fair narrative structure to be able to use?
The converse or the rebuttal to that though is to say, well, but your big bad guy could just wish you all out of existence. Why don't they do that all the time? Which is a fair point.
Well,
because
because there are consequences for doing stuff like
it's
that.
true,
But,
yeah.
I mean, I feel like balance in all of those things. Sure, like, here's the thing though. Even if you have your level 1, I have a friend that was running a campaign for someone, and it was like a huge dungeon. And they were supposed to just classic, like, level up as they went. And there was a huge dragon that they were basically supposed to meet by the time they got to level 10. And they were level 1. And somehow they accidentally, like, went through several secret doors that they weren't supposed to find and burst through a wall and, like, found the dragon way early on. And ended up finding a way to defeat it just because of their luck and ingenuity.
Yeah.
Well, like a 20th level character should survive this thoroughly weakened, or they should have a possibility of surviving
if they
it thoroughly
fail
weakened.
every single check, I can understand it killing a character.
Yes.
That's fine. I understand. But the problem is that even if you make checks, this is still doing enough damage to start killing off like
Level 20 barbarians?
Well, not level 20, but like lower
Like,
under
whoops,
characters.
the
like,
wizard was within 100 feet of me. He died.
Yeah. And so it's just, I don't think this is a bad spell. I don't think it's a badly conceived spell.
I
like
love the
all
idea
of
of
it.
this spell.
I just think that punishing part of it at the end, the tail end of it, I even like the big damage up front.
Oh, yeah.
Meteor swarm damage, great, love it. Imposing this new condition,
And yeah,
cool.
even imposing like the restrained condition
Like
that
getting
everyone's
out.
under the snow.
That's very cool.
That's
I just
that
think
within and of itself.
the damage on top is just too much.
Yeah.
It just feels like too oppressive as a player if that happened to me. Like,
Where it's like, I already took such a big
the wizard
hit.
in my party decided, he was like, well, I'm sorry, but you're still going to be in there. And I said, can't you wait till I get out? And then that player said no. And now I'm like at the whim of that player deciding my character has died now. You know, like,
well,
that's
like
kind of
even
frustrating.
if you're a sorcerer with like spell sculpt for safety, you know, kind of a thing, like you make them automatically pass the save and they are still murdered by a bunch of snow.
So just I would say
Especially
tweak
if you're
that a
in
bit.
combat, if you've already taken any damage.
Yeah.
I would dial that damage back, and that's honestly like I don't see any other parts of the spell I'd want to change. I like having to dig your way out. I like being able to like go find your friend if he's unconscious and dig
that
him
part's
out.
really
cool. Very cool.
I love that it destroys buildings.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
even if you're inside, you're still
You're
in the
still-
avalanche.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Very cool. I would just say twist down the knob on that. Crank that back from 11 back down to like 2 or 3 maybe.
Yeah, I think that all in all, I personally would tweak that about Avalanche and take Tomb of Ice, and like I would use those right now.
I
like
love Tomb of Ice.
I think those two especially are probably my favorites in this list. But this is a good list, and I would encourage you to read it. And I think the creator of this did a great job. I think that's really interesting.
Very creative uses of ice, really, and like practical.
Committing to a flavor.
And it's not just like it's this, but there's ice. Like it's very realistic ways of
they've thought it through
how ice and frost would be used.
Yeah,
I
it's
have
great.
a suggestion if it's not in here already. Cantrip called Ice Cube, which is just you just can generate like in your drink just like up to 3 ice cubes as a cantrip as a one action.
That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you.
That's it.
I would
Yep.
if I were your DM, I would give you that for prestidigitation. You can make 1 ice cube. That's part of prestidigitation.
What about can I make with the cantrip Ice Cube a character on maybe Law and Order SVU
That
who's
everything
constantly
needs to be explained
surprised?
to.
Oh boy. All right. Well, Bean, carry us home. What have you got? What have you brought for us today?
All right, I'm excited for this one, and I thought we should get in touch with a little bit more with the younger audience.
Oh, the teen audience,
All the
or like the
kids?
what the kids, like teens,
Like
what are we talking?
babies?
Like Gen
Newborns?
Z.
Are we doing
Gen Z.
babies?
Preschoolers.
Gen Z. All right.
Yo, what up, my preschoolers?
Yo!
Oh yes, we're down with the hip Gen Z.
Yeah,
kids, for
time
sure.
to spill this hot leaf juice. Because spill the tea is a thing that the kids say.
Yep, nope.
It is
You
one.
Oh
double
no,
ruined the
I'm
joke.
so out of it. I didn't know the joke.
You didn't?
Welcome to the Copperfoxinn, where we discuss memes we don't really know. where we discuss what we think memes mean.
Anyway,
Yes, let me call my teenage sister and find out what that means.
Is she gonna know?
I would love a show where people who don't know what a meme means just like apply their own new
just get our
meaning to
parents
it. Be
on
like,
this.
well, I think probably that rat is upset at the situation. So I think
that's just already a meme of parents naming Pokemon by sight.
They actually do that.
It's
like
the Ouch Mouse.
They actually do that like on Rhett and Link a lot. They'll
yeah.
show modern slang terms and they have to guess what
Oh,
it means,
that's
and
fair.
whoever gets it closest. Okay, so
Which will be Rhett
speaking
every time.
yeah, speaking of memes we don't know, I bring you the Yeetle Beetle.
okay.
Is that anything similar to Yordle the Turtle?
Yordle the Turtle.
Oh, sorry.
Is Yordle the Turtle a new Turtle character you're playing in 5th edition? Or is he the BBEG?
I was trying to
is he the bad
adjust it.
guy?
I was trying to adjust it to
Yordle the
D&D,
Turtle,
but it didn't work.
No, that's good though. That is very good. Yordle the Turtle.
Anyway, so
so
this is
funny.
the Yeetle Beetle. It's a construct. It is a small beast, unaligned. This was created by
Tabaxi in a taxi. Okay, we can move on.
There we go.
This was created by the Ugly Dragon 1. The description underneath this says, why, oh why do you downvote this? Stifles sob.
Okay.
So,
Fair.
the Yeetle Beetle. Small beast unaligned, armor class 13, natural armor, hit points 27, speed 30 feet, a fly speed of 30 feet, strength 12, dex 10, con 15, intelligence 3, wisdom 7, and charisma 6. I don't know why I only abbreviated constitution.
I don't know why
Everyone
you,
always.
I don't know why you read all those numbers. they'll be up on the screen.
They are important.
They're very uninteresting.
Okay. Well, you can edit this part out. It's got blind sight.
Cool.
No languages. It's a challenge rating 1.
Okay.
Illumination. The Yeetle Beetle sheds light in a 10-foot radius and dim light for an additional 10 feet.
Okay.
Yeetalicious senses.
Okay.
I don't like this.
Why? I can't read it.
The Yeetle Beetle.
Oh, I got it. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You got this, Bean.
Yeetalicious senses. The Yeetle Beetle has has advantage on wisdom perception checks that rely on hearing or smell.
Okay.
Run like yeet.
That's not a phrase. Gen Z kids, is that a phrase?
Hold on, the whole point
Comment below
the
here.
whole point of yeet is you just put it anywhere. That is the
Incorrect.
point of
Yeet
yeet.
means to throw.
When the Yeetle Beetle takes the dash action on its turn, it can move an extra 5 feet. In addition, while dashing, it does not provoke opportunity attacks. Flyby. The Yeetle Beetle doesn't provoke opportunity attacks when it flies out of an enemy's reach.
So I do like Run Like Yeet as an ability.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish it was flavored a bit more that like somehow the beetle grabbed itself and threw itself, much like the Lorax.
It
Well,
yeets
see,
itself.
I think
It
you could.
yeets itself.
I think you could take.
I am the Yeetle. I speak for the Yeets.
I think you could take Run Like Yeet. I think we can rename that to Swerve, because like people being like swerve and like getting out of there. I think
fair
that's a Gen Z way.
Maybe Run Like Yeet could be slide into the DMs.
No,
No, that's a charm ability.
That's a different thing.
Anyway,
Can it be specified that it cannot carry anything? It is incapable of carrying.
Anything inside
It
of
is empty.
Oh, it's empty. Okay, wait. There is still an
Actions.
action, yeah.
bite. Melee weapon attack +3 to hit. Reach 5 feet, 1 target. Slashing damage. And target must make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw, or take 3 poison damage and be poisoned until the end of its next turn.
Yoinks.
So it's not empty. It's full of venom.
It's full of venom.
Full of poison, specifically.
On a failure by 5 or more, the creature behaves as if under the effect of the confusion spell for 1 minute.
This should just be called America I Am Confusion.
Yes.
For the record, if it bites you and you become poisoned, it is venomous.
Yeah, no, but it's...
Yeah.
It's poison damp. You
Yeah.
are poisoned.
Yeah.
The creature can repeat the saving throw at the start of each of its turns, ending the effect on a success. I would like to add that if that creature is carrying any croissants, there is a chance that they could drop them.
I'm hurting everywhere.
There's a chance.
There's a chance.
But it will
Almost.
It will never successfully drop
And
the croissant.
The final action.
Yes.
Yeet. The Yeetle Beetle touches one object weighing 1 to 5 pounds within 5 feet that isn't being worn or carried. The object flies in a straight line up to 90 feet in a direction it chooses before falling to the ground. I can't read. Stopping early if it impacts against a solid surface. If the object would strike a creature, that creature must make a DC 12 dexterity saving throw. On a failed save, the object strikes the target and stops moving. When the object strikes something, the object and what it strikes each take 13 bludgeoning damage. So just this little beetle, like, goes up and touches a rock, and the rock goes... And I actually love that, because imagine you're like walking through the woods with your party and all of a sudden rocks and leaves and like an arrow
Twigs
even
and sticks
just start flying at your party,
You just
and
keep hearing yeet.
and you don't know what's going on, and then finally you look down and there's this little bug that's just like...
Is he tiny? What size is he?
It's pretty
It's tiny. It's
small
small
beast.
Small.
So like there's just
It's
a
about
little,
the size of a house cat.
Size of a gnome.
but still that's little. There's just a beetle that is just
Oh
going
no,
up.
yeah, gnome.
Are gnomes medium?
This beetle is huge.
Are gnomes medium or small?
Gnomes are small.
Yeah.
It does have a speed of 30
It
feet.
would be the size of you, Bean. As
I
a
could
gnome.
ride it.
No, you couldn't. It's the same size as you.
But it could carry you on its back, and it would just move at half speed.
Ah, if I lost a lot of weight,
No,
it
I
could
mean
eat
it
me.
could. So what the beetle could do? Oh no, but if it's medium
See,
size,
here's
Could
the-
it just yeet you to where you need to go?
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm probably
You don't need to ride it. It'll just touch you.
I'm probably like 40 pounds. So if I
I'll
lost
just take like 13 damage.
if I lost a lot
Well,
of weight,
Yeah, you would need to lose
See-
35 pounds.
if I were to design this creature, I
Okay.
would actually make it quite a bit smaller,
Okay.
but I
Yeah.
would still make it very fast. And I would say that it could be objects up to like very heavy objects that it could yeet.
Like
so
it's so powerful.
it's so
like an
powerful.
ant.
But it can only throw. It
Yeah.
can't do anything.
No,
else.
it can't. It like if you're holding
I
it,
would
it
be
can
okay.
bite you.
I'd be okay with taking the bite ability just away, or having it deal a D4 bludgeoning, like nothing, like
Like
whatever.
that's what I'm saying. It like it hurts, but
Yeah.
where it's just this little bug and it can throw like boulders. Like
How similar is this to the catapult spell?
Oh.
Is it
do
a
not know.
reflavored catapult spell?
But I do love it. I also would
It may just be
encourage some of the phrasing of certain things to be
a little memeier,
a little memeier.
a little spicier.
Yeah, a little
Yeah, if
spicier.
if you're gonna name something after a meme, you gotta double down.
You gotta
It is a reflavoring of catapult.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which awesome.
I thought so, but I didn't want to
But
say
see,
it if I was
that's
wrong.
great because they didn't sit down and go, how the heck do I make the yeet spell?
Do I make
they
the-
just
Yeah.
found something that was similar.
I'm just gonna reflavor. If a wizard ever takes the catapult spell, it's just called the yeet spell. That is it. It's just
Yeah.
called I cast a yeet.
And anyway, I really like this
Very good.
because it is actually a pretty cool little creature.
Mhm.
And I love that someone thought of a crazy little joke and they just went with it. I mean, Yeetle Beetle. I'm all for that name.
Mhm.
Oh no! I have another idea.
What?
Just the yeet beet.
The yeet
And it's
beet.
just a root vegetable
Very vegetable.
that if set on the correct object, or if you try to pick it
I
up,
think-
you get yeeted and you just get thrown.
You just
Hold
can't
up,
pick it
hold
up.
It's like mandrakes.
Hold up, there's
but
an
for
ability
physicalness.
that bards should have called the yeet beat. And it's you play a beat so compelling, everyone has to throw any objects that they're holding as far as they can.
I thought it was going to be
Compelled
like
to
a
yeet.
wave of energy
Any-
that flings
That
people
No,
away.
no,
yeets
no.
everyone
No.
It
around
makes
you.
everyone else yeet whatever they have.
No, because the bard's just playing, but then everyone is like compelled by the music. Their arms going back like, no, don't do it, and then everyone within a certain radius all together yells yeet, and they all throw, but like in
Beautiful.
random directions.
It's as the bard's beat drops.
Yeah, as the beat.
So it's like the equivalent of like a sorcerer's tornado spell of damage, but it's just random damage of random objects being thrown in random directions.
It would be similar
you-
to like
you sh-
telekinesis, like throwing daggers with telekinesis.
You should be able to determine the spot where they yeet it to, because then everyone could
I
like
like it
throw all
being
their stuff
random, though.
at.
Just being like, I have no idea what's happening.
That's very good.
Woman with
Yeah.
a baby walks
I
through.
guess
oh
that's
no!
I guess that's
What do you
fair
have?
because
Oh,
the whole
my.
point of yeet is it's just distance and ferocity. There is no
yeah.
particularness. It's just throwing empty
Uh-huh.
cans into crowds.
Uh-huh.
And I actually really like this. I
Very good.
highly encourage people,
very
like,
cute.
go for the jokes, and you know what? Make it as silly as unusable as you like, or go for a joke and, like, actually make it something that you
Would be useful.
could use in a campaign.
Whatever you create, just know that we will find it and we will take it more seriously than you intended.
Yep.
So just plan
Sounds
on
right.
that.
Yep.
Well, thank you for bringing that,
Thank you
Bean.
for
That was a
explaining
good
the
time.
premise of the podcast.
I think there would be a good opportunity for like meme items and things if you did an April Fool's Day session with your party,
Yeah.
where they're expecting just a normal session, but you start sneaking in the YEET beat and like random other like meme ideas. It's like, oh, this is a croissant of dropping, and like random other like things you can grab from the internet. And they start to realize they're just like, you're just screwing around with us making memes.
Someone casts Grasping Vine, and then as long as the vine is around someone, that person keeps repeating the last 7 seconds of like whatever they said right before it.
Very good.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well, that's
Curse of
great.
lemons.
Yeah, so you know what? Send us more haikus and
yep.
send us your homebrews.
You have to send a haiku.
Yeah, we want them.
Yep.
I'll take limericks if you're not good at
Okay, I
haikus.
would allow a limerick. That would be okay too.
But yeah, put that before the link or the image of your homebrew, so that because if there's not one there, I'm not scrolling.
But thank you again to all of our contributors. If you like what we do, go ahead and subscribe for more weekly homebrew content. All right, keep on adventuring, everybody. See you next week.